Welcome to Missionary Moneymaker. While making a dime is making a difference. I'm your host, Carl James Winn Jr. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about passive impact, multiplying value without adding hours. So I just want to warn you, if you see me looking over to the right or whatever, looking down, I have some notes that I've written to help me just really add value to this episode. I want to share this with you because it's the truth. In 2026, we won't have more hours than we had in 2025. It will be the same. So if we're thinking that we're going to get some extra hours, some extra minutes in 2026, that's not true. We get the same 8,736 hours, 160 hours a week. And we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to use those hours to glorify God? And so the truth is, we cannot add hours to our lives, but we can multiply the hours that God has entrusted to us. And that's what today is about. It is about empowering you to think about how you can multiply the hours that God is going to give you in 2026 to create a greater impact. It's not about working harder, hustling longer, but it's about strategically using the time that God has given you. So one of the things that I hope you come away from this with this question: how can I create one passive income source that would help me multiply my time by 2, by 5, and by 10? And as a Christian, if you've been reading the Bible long enough, you know where that comes from. It comes from the parable of the talents, where Jesus talks about how the master entrusted to his servants 2, 5, and 10 talents to 3 different servants. And so as we think about what God has entrusted to us, he entrusted to us all the same time. In fact, if we all live the full year in 2026, he's going to give us 8,736 hours. And so we want to think about, how can we multiply those hours by 2, by 5, and by 10 for the glory of God and the good of others. So what I want to talk about is passive impact. Passive impact is simply this: multiply value creation without adding hours. And as I think about 2026, as Christians, we have to strategically think about, how can we expand God's kingdom in the marketplace by leveraging our time, by multiplying value creation without multiplying time. And I like to first of all define passive, because it's so important. Dictionary.com defines passive as this: not actively participating, inactive. And as you think about that is not a sign of laziness. That's not a sign of slowfulness. That is a sign of leverage. Remember, it is defined as not actively participating, inactive. So when we think about passive, what we're thinking about is something that works even while we are no longer touching it. And that's where leverage comes in at. So over the course of the years, I've come up with this definition for leverage. Now, other people may have defined it, but this is how I define leverage. Leverage enables one to accomplish a desired outcome more easily, more efficiently, more effectively, and more excellently. Let me say that again. This is what leverage is. Leverage enables one to accomplish a desired outcome more easily, more efficiently, more effectively, and more excellently. And so leverage can be it can be a tool, but it don't have to just be a tool, but it can be a person, it can be platforms, it can be places, it can be habits, it can be systems, it can be strategies. So leverage is simply a tool that can help you accomplish a desired outcome more easily, more efficiently, more effectively, and more excellently. And so as we think about 2026, what the question that we need to be asking ourselves is, how can I leverage the time that God has given me to multiply the impact that it can produce? Let me say it again. How can I leverage the time that God has already given me to multiply the impact that it produces? This is how we need to be thinking. Let's be honest. We will not get extra hours in 2026. But that doesn't mean that we cannot maximize the hours that God has given me. And so everyone, every one of us can multiply the fruit of the hours we already have. And that starts today. If we're going to make a greater impact in 2026, we need to start thinking strategically now. And that's why I have put this episode together, so you can start thinking about, what does that look like for me in 2026? So for me, I know my one focus is, how can I help 10,000 Christians write and publish their first book? So I want to talk about in this next section, time, stewardship, and God's investment. So I like Acts chapter, the verse Acts chapter 17 and verse 25. It talks about God has given us life, breath, and everything. And so since it's true, God wants us to give him a return on his investment. So I like to say that I want to give God a return on the life, breath, and everything that he's entrusted to me. So I want to give him the best return. And I believe that if you're listening to this podcast, you do too. You want to give God the best return on his investment. So we got to ask ourselves, how can I leverage my life, my breath, and everything to give God the best return on this investment? And so this is the truth. Your breath, your life, everything that God has given you is not yours. It's borrowed. It is entrusted. So we can't walk around and say, this is my life, I'm going to live it however I want to. No, the mindset that we should have as Christians is, this is God's life that he's entrusted to me. How can I use it to give him the best return on his investment? And Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13 and 14, it sums this up. It talks about how we are going to have to give a return. God is going to hold us accountable for how we've used our life, breath, and everything. Every decision, every action, every moment, we will be brought into account. And so it's not about scaring us, but it helps us to focus. When I think about that truth, I think about, how can I focus my efforts, my time? How can I leverage my time to give God the best return on this investment? And that is my job for you, is to help you think strategically about that in 2006. How can you leverage your time to give God the best return on this investment? So I want you to think about that. the 8,736 hours that God may entrust to you in 2026, how are you going to use those hours? And it's not about how busy you're going to be. The real question is, what will exist in 2026 because you were obedient with your time? Let me say that again. What will exist in 2026 because you were obedient with your time? Because it's because it's about productivity. It's about how can I be productive and produce the fruit that God would want to see from my time. Don't let the music die with you. I've had several conversations with Christians about wanting to write a book. And I always like to tell them, don't let the music die with you. So I've put together this resource called 5 Steps to Discovering Your Unique Book Idea. It's a free resource that if you download and get started with writing your book. As Zig Ziglar once said, you don't have to be great to start, but in order to be great, you must start. So if you want to write a book, you got to start somewhere. We've put together this resource because I believe, and I know for a fact, writing a book has been one of the ways that I've been able to increase my income, my impact, and my influence. And I want that to be the same for you. And I believe that you have a book inside of you, that if you write it, you're going to bless the world through it. So go ahead and download this PDF. The link will be in the show notes. And I just want to hear about your book. Let's go do it. I want to talk about my own journey to passive impact. How did I get here? Where did this idea come from? If a year ago, I wrote and published my first book called Nothing is a Waste, Leverage the Past, Improve the Future. And after I wrote and published the book, people began to ask me, Carl, why did you write this book? And I began to think about, why did I write that book? Why did I write this book? And the first thing that came to mind, I wrote the book because I want people to maximize their past. I want them to see their past as a resource. I want them to see their past as something that's valuable, not something to throw away. And that's the premise of the book. But then I began to think deeper about, why did I write the book? Why did I write the book? And what came forth as I thought about that is what I now know as the 3 P's of transformation. It's a framework that I want you to leverage. It's a framework that I'm leveraging every day in and day out of my life. And that's the reason why I'm even recording this podcast, is because I began to think about, I wanted to create passive impact, passive income, and positive influence. So that's the 3 P's of transformation. So I wrote my first book because of the 3 P's of transformation. I wanted to create passive impact. I wanted to create passive income, and I wanted to create positive influence. And so I wanted to be creating value even while I wasn't breathing. I wanted to sow seeds, and after I sowed those seeds, I wanted them to grow and become fruitful even while I'm gone. And so I want to share this with you. The global book industry is now worth over $120 billion. In the United States alone, books generate about $30 billion annually. And self-publishing by itself is now $1 billion space. Now you may ask, why do I tell you that? Because books are not dead. Books are one of the strongest tools to scale influence. And so God used that tool, a book in my life, to let my words go. And so it can impact, and not it can't, but it's impacting places that I'll never go. And so my books, my content has reached and impacted over 20 countries so far. As I think about personally how it's impacted other people, my mom, she recently told me, I'm proud of you. And so I asked, I said, why are you proud of me? She said, because you've done something that nobody in your family has done. And that's writing a book. And I didn't set out to write the book for that to happen, but that's the passive impact that it's having. And then in my family, my children are impacted by me writing my books. All five of my children want to write a book. Four of them are already writing books. And just recently, my oldest daughter, she dedicated a book that she was writing to me. And it says, dedicated to my daddy who has inspired me to write. And that is awesome. That's passive impact. That's why I write a book, because it's impacting not only people publicly, but it's impacting the lives of my family privately. I want to talk about now passive impact sources. I've already alluded to the first passive impact source, which is a book. A book is a passive impact source. Books are still strong. They're still great passive impact access that we can use to impact the world. Here's why. Over 2 million books are published each year. So people are still reading books. People are searching, and people are learning digitally more than ever. And when someone searches on Google about how to heal, how to build faith, how to recover, how to build wealth, how to grow spiritually, books are still showing up. Books are not about pride, but it's about productivity. It's not about ego. It's about, a book is a discipleship tool at scale. And so I want you to think about how to leverage your experiences, your expertise, your education, your environment that you've been in and that you're going to be going in, right? Your ethnicity, you can leverage those to write a book. As you think about your experiences, your expertise, your education, your environments that you've been in, your ethnicity, these things make you unique. And so you want to leverage your uniqueness by putting it into a book that can impact lives worldwide. And it's not about vanity, but it's about value creation. My goal in 2026 is to help 10,000 Christians write and publish their first book, because I know that inside every Christian is value that needs to come forth. Somebody needs to hear from you, and only you. You have a story that can impact other people. You have value that only you can unleash on the world. And this can help you leverage your impact in the marketplace. Another passive impact source that can be used in 2026. It's podcasts. Let me just say, podcasting is exploding. Over 500 million people worldwide listens to podcasts now. And what about the podcast listeners? They are mostly working adults, professionals, marketplace people. And so what that means is the mission field is wearing suits, boots, uniforms, business casual. People want to learn. Podcasting is not about entertainment, but it's about learning. It's about discipleship on the go. I know for me, I listen to podcasts. In fact, I can listen to a podcast on 2 times because I'm always learning. I want to grow. I want to become better. People are listening to podcasts while they're working out. People are listening to podcasts while they cook. People are listening to podcasts while they ride bikes, while they walk, while they are driving in the vehicle. People want to grow. So let's get this settled. People want to learn. People want to become better, whether they're Christians or they're not. They want to learn. And if you have expertise, if you have, we all have experience. If you have some type of education that you can leverage, right? Some environments that you've been in, we all have ethnicity we can leverage. You need to package that into a podcast. In fact, you can write a book, as we talk about in the first passive impact source. You can leverage that book and turn it into a podcast or a podcast series, which I've done. That's why this podcast is called Missionary Moneymaker. While making a dime is making a difference, is because I first wrote that book and I turned that book into a podcast. Why? Because I want to deploy Christians into the marketplace as missionaries. So that's what I'm doing. I'm utilizing a podcast to leverage and reframe the content in my book to continue to reach the audience that I want to reach, just with a different tool. So similar to podcasts, YouTube is a great tool to be leveraged in 2026 to multiply your impact. Think about this. This is what the data tell us. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. And as we talked about in this second passive impact source, people want to learn. People want to do better. People want to grow. And YouTube is a search engine. People are going to talk about, to search, how can I fix something? How can I learn something? How can I grow in a particular area? And YouTube is a great way to do that. And so the church belongs there, both the institution as well as the individual. So as an entrepreneur, as an employee in the marketplace, you need to be there. You need to leverage your uniqueness to impact the lives of people. And so it's not about chasing trends, but it's about leveraging tools. Going back to what we said before, is that tools help us accomplish a desired outcome more easily, more efficiently, more effectively, and more excellently. YouTube is a way for us to reach people. It is a tool for evangelism. It is a tool for discipleship. It is a tool for value creation. And think about this. YouTube also provides data for you to know who you are reaching. And so you can start creating videos, and as you begin to see, man, my videos are reaching this audience, this demographics, you can begin to refine your videos to reach that particular audience. And so you want to start somewhere. And so think about that. You can leverage YouTube as a passive impact source. I want to let you know about another resource we have. It's called How to Write a Book in a Day. If you go to carlwinn.com, we have a resource for you to write your book. And guess what? It's not going to take 2 months, 3 months, but we have a template laid out so that you can do it in a day. If you go through, you'll be able to see what all we have available so that you can do it. This is the same framework that I've used to write 5, 6, 7, 8 books of my own. If you've been thinking about, I want to write a book, this is your opportunity to do that. So go to carlwinn.com. You can see what it all offers and go ahead and get the course and write your book, because I want to buy it. I want to read it. But also there's some other person that needs your book. That is a resource for you. God bless you. And let's get back to the show. The next passive impact source that I want to talk about is digital courses. Digital courses are a way for us to impact lives. It is a way for us to multiply our impact. It is a way for us to multiply our time in 2026. Listen to this data. It says the global online learning market is approaching $400 billion. Do you hear me? $400 billion. So again, I want to stress this. People want to learn. People want to grow. People want to become better. Why not, as Christians, why not step into that market? 400 billion is a lot. Tap into that market and begin to leverage your uniqueness to help other people. Because remember, this is why God created you. He created you to glorify Him by serving other people. You were made to live a life of contribution. And digital courses allow us to contribute to the growth of others in a passive way. Do the work one time and see it go to work for you on an ongoing basis. And so remember, your knowledge is not supposed to die. I like to tell people when I'm encouraging them to write a book, I like to say this: don't let the music die with you. Again, we don't know when we're going to take our last breath. But while we have breath, don't let the music die with you. Get that book out there. Get that podcast out there. Get that YouTube video out there. Get that digital course out there working for you. So think about this. Your digital course can be working for you while you have entered into eternity. That's the truth. Your digital course can be working for you even while you have entered into eternal rest. I think about people like who just passed away, Christians. John MacArthur, he just passed away. He has several books that he's written. He has several videos that he's produced, several sermons, right? He is making an impact while he's enjoying his eternal rest. Vodi Bakum is another brother in Christ who passed away in 2025. And his books are having his books, his digital, his not digital course, but his digital platform, videos, things that he's created is having an impact on the lives of people while he is resting eternally. I think about Dr. Dobson, who was the person who started Family Focus on the Family. Think about what he did. His books, the content he's created, he's having an impact on the lives of people while he's resting eternally. And I think about someone who's impacted my life, Zig Ziglar. All those men that I've mentioned, they've impacted my life. But Zig Ziglar, he's also someone who's impacted my life as well. His son is now leading his business. Books are still being written by him. The courses that he's created, the speeches, all these things are going to work for him. And so a digital course is a way for you to do that. And so I've put together a digital course. It's called How to Write a Book in a Day, because I want to see Christians write a book. It's a framework that I've created because it allows me to have passive impact. So I can be sleeping, somebody can be watching my course and writing a book. And that's the goal. How do you leverage digital courses to create passive impact and leverage your time in 2026? So I want to talk about these last three passive impact sources. It's blogs, vlogs, and newsletters. They all somewhat combined. But blogs are not dead. They're still responsible for most of the internet educational traffic. So you can create a blog on your personal website and you can call it various things. You can call it your name. So I have a personal website that's called carlwinn.com, but you can call it something else that is maybe tied to the book that you've written, right? You can make it into a blog, and then you can do vlogs, right? That is just people getting to know who you are. There's no editing involved. You can just put your camera up and just begin to talk, and people, they learn from that. I mean, especially as we are in this AI industry, AI world, people are looking for real people, real story, things that are not edited, but just real, raw, uncut information where people just want to hear from you. And people, they learn from that. It's not all edited. Life is not all edited. There is raw and cut. And so people are looking for that. And as AI begin to take over more, people are going to be looking for real connection to people. And then another thing, newsletters are coming back. Newsletter is one of the fastest growing formats today. And so subscription newsletters are impacting millions of people. People are paying to get on people newsletters. Why? Because newsletters allow for direct connection, consistent teaching, and personal leadership. And so someone invites you into their inbox. And so that's permission, that's trust, and that's discipleship. So as you think about all of these passive income impact sources, you got to start thinking about in 2026, what can I, which one of these I can leverage to impact the lives? Which are one of these that I can leverage to multiply my time by 2, by 5, or by 10? What does that look like for me? So I want to encourage you, don't let 2026 just be another year. Make it a year of entrustment. Make that your theme for 2026. Entrustment or stewardship, whatever you want to call it. And so this is what you want to think about. And so as I close, I want you to ask yourself this question. What is one passive impact source that will exist by the end of this year that does not exist right now? And if that answer is nothing, that should shake you, because obedience leaves evidence. And passive income is simply obedience that outlives us. So I want to leave you with this call to action. If you desire to write a book and it's been on your heart, it's been something that God has been stirring in you, or if you've listened to this podcast and saying, man, I see myself, I can write a book. I've created a digital course called How to Write a Book in a Day. And my goal in 2026, and you can help me, you can be one of them, is to help 10,000 Christians write and publish a book. I put together a framework where you can create a passive income impact source by using a framework that I've already created. And yes, that passive impact source will lead to a passive impact income source. And I'll be talking about that in the next episode. So I want you to come alongside of me. Let me come alongside of you, and let's reach the goal of writing that book. Let's get that book out there, which can turn into the other passive impact sources that I've mentioned in this podcast. Because think about this. One book can restore family. One book can strengthen a believer. One book can lead someone to repentance in God. One book can expand an industry. One book can take a company from $1 million to $10 million in revenue. One book can help create another product and service for someone else. So I want you to think about that, because guess what? One book can carry truth into homes that I'll never step into. And so writing a book is not about promotion, but it's about stewardship. Because we want to remember this. Don't let the music die with you. Don't just consume content in 2026, but create legacy. Don't let the music die with you. If this podcast has impacted you in any kind of way, I want you to like, subscribe, comment, leave a review. If you're on Apple, Spotify, leave a review and let people know how this podcast is helping you, so that they can be a part of it. And remember, we're trying to build a community here, but also let me know that this is impacting you, because your feedback is data to me to say, Carl, keep on going. This is helping me. So would you take time to leave that review on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you're listening? Even leave a comment if you're listening to this on YouTube, because those comments also help. So with that being said, God bless you. God keep you. Go out into the marketplace as a missionary. We need you. God needs you. God is calling you to do that. God bless you.